First and foremost, I'm going to give praises to my power, Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahushai, Bahasham, Rakah Kwadash. Double honors to the elders, apostles, and bishops of Great Millstone who still teach and rule well. Peace and salutations to the hopeful elect scattered amongst the four corners of the earth. This is the YouTube channel. The MOTB is here too. Coming at you through the spirit and power of Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahushai to do another video, thankfully. As well as to the elect of the speckle who won't have that traditional so-called Negro, Latino, and Native American look. You're going to come looking like the other 17 heathen nations, as we were scattered amongst those 17 heathen nations as part of the curses for not following the law, statutes, and commandments of our power, Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahushai. So some Israelites are going to come looking like so-called white people, so-called Arabs, etc., so-called Chinese, so-called Japanese. But if the videos that you watch from Elder Apostle Tahar on down of Great Millstone moves you and inspires you to pray and repent to the Lord Yahweh, Bahasham in the name, Yahweh Shai, the deliverer, Bahasham in the name, Rakah Spirit, Kwadash Holy, then you're an Israelite. This is a pickup where I left off yesterday on the video that I did about giving an example of Psalms 49 and 11 about Esau, Edom, the self-proclaimed so-called white man, beginning with the top bacon families, the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, the DuPonts, having a lot of pride and arrogance, all right, and a false sense of confidence. This is Psalms. I did a video yesterday talking about how, the Spirit of the Lord had me, point out a video about how here in America they have places here in America named after their names. And I did a video about King Hadad, Hadad, which was the king of the Edomites in the ancient world, and how over in Virginia they have two places in Virginia, one called Hadad Lake, and then another one called Hadad Riverfront Park. All right, so this is what I'm picking up on that point. But just to show, this is Psalms 49 and 11. Their inward thought is that their houses shall continue forever, and their dwelling places to all generations. They call their lands after their own names. Now, I did that video, and it was pretty well described, but I said in the video yesterday that I might double back and see if there were, so-called Latinos, so-called Negroes, and so-called Native Americans that were living there in those places in Virginia before it got changed to what is known today as Hadad Lake and Hadad Riverfront Park. And this is what I found. Let me see if I can pull it up real quick. Bear with me. Yeah, this is the question that I posed on Chat GPT earlier today. Were Black, Hispanic, or Native American communities before the Hadad Riverfront Park in Virginia? And here's the answer. Hadad Riverfront Park, also known as the Levee in Charleston, West Virginia, sits along the Kanawha River. While this specific park was built in 1993, this region's history includes a significant indigenous roots, African American contributions, and subsequent development. Now, in terms of the Native American history, the ancient inhabitants, the Kanawha Valley has been home to various indigenous populations dating back thousands of years. So that's the so-called Native Americans, which is the tribe of Gad, or the Seminole Indians, which are the tribe of Reuben. Mound builders. The broader Charleston and South Carolina area was heavily populated by the Adena culture, an ancient indigenous civilization, which was Gad and Reuben. While the park site itself was developed in the 20th century, the broader region is historically recognized for its Native American burial mounds and earthworks. Now, in terms of the African American history, which is Judah, Benjamin, and Levi, the Southern Kingdom, freeing enslaved laborers prior to the park and the construction of Kanawha Boulevard in the 1930s, the riverfront area supported early industry, including salt brining and foundries. This industry relied heavily on the labor of enslaved and later free African Americans. Local neighborhoods, it says Charleston's historically vibrant African American communities, so-called Negroes, Judah, Benjamin, and Levi, such as those centered near the Garnet District, grew nearby, helping shape the culture and educational landscape of the city. Now, in terms of the Hispanic presence, they threw some shade on some of these brothers here, the Hispanic brothers. The original context, the Hispanic or Latino presence in the Kanawha Valley is primarily a modern demographic shift. Historically, the area was populated predominantly by Native Americans, early European American settlers, which are Edomites, and a large black community tied to the coal and salt industries. All right. So that's in context of, which one was that one? That was in context of what was taking place at the Haddad Riverfront Park in West Virginia. Now I asked about what about Haddad Lake in Henrico County, Virginia, which is a different part of Virginia. Said Haddad's Lake, historically spelled with one D, is a 36-acre property located in the Varina district of Henrico County, Virginia. Long before it operated as a famous local water park and music venue, starting in 1965, the surrounding Varina area held deep ties to Native Americans and African American history. All right, now in terms of the Native American history, the Powhatan chiefdom, long before European colonization, Henrico County was the ancestral land of the Algonquian speaking tribes. So, it's either Gad or Reuben, all right? Now, in terms of still Native American history here, but the Arrow-Haddock tribe, the specific region of Varina along the James River, was home to the Arrow-Haddock people, one of the core tribes belonging to the Powhatan chiefdom under Chief Powhatan. They lived, farmed, and fished along these exact waterways for thousands of years. All right, so that's Gad and Reuben, because Gad and Reuben and Issachar, and they moved over here to what's known as America long before the transatlantic slave trade. That's why Cristobal Colon, or Christopher Columbus, as you know him, that was talking about who he found here was the so-called Native Americans and so-called Mexicans. Now, in terms of the African American history, it's in reference to enslaved labor and tobacco. Plantations in the 16 and 1700s, Varina became the epicenter for Virginia's tobacco production. The land surrounding what is now Haddad's Lake was built entirely on the forced labor of enslaved Africans who cleared the dense forest and cultivated the cash crops. In terms of free black communities, following the Revolutionary War, Varina became notable for having early populations of free black families. For example, the historic John Pleasant's Will of 1771 legally freed a large population of enslaved people by 1782, leading to generations of free black landowners and farmers, such as the Isaac Pleasant's family, all right, working agriculture during the 1800s. Now, in the 20th century, you had Eves Lake. Prior to being purchased by the Haddad family in 1965, the natural bottom swimming hole was owned by the Eves family and locally known as Eves Lake. During the mid-20th century era of segregation, many private swim clubs and lakes in Virginia operated as segregated spaces. Now, in terms of modern inclusivity, in its later decades under the Haddad family, the venue transformed into a highly inclusive ragtag community hub. It welcomed diverse families from all over Richmond, while also serving as a major counterculture venue for local park, metal, hip hop, and ubiquitous music festivals. But yeah, so it's a telltale sign that this is what they do. And the scriptures say, woe to him that removes a man's landmark. Now, Gad and Reuben and Issachar was here first, and this place was their landmark. And Esau came during the transatlantic slave trade, and since then has, pushed Gad and Reuben and moved their landmarks, and now they got them on those reservations, living in those deplorable conditions. So Esau Edom's got a lot to pay for. Hence why Revelation 13:9-10 says, if any man have an ear, let him hear. He that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. Because we to this day are still in captivity. We have birth certificates and social security cards to prove that we are still in captivity. We can't just up and go free will anywhere we want on the planet, or let alone even in this country, without there being some type of checkpoint or being questioned about how we're moving and why we're moving around. So with that, I hope that this was adding some more nooks and crannies to the video I did yesterday about Psalms the 49th chapter and the 11th verse about Esau Edom's pride. All right. Matter of fact, and let me end it with this one here. I like this one. Keep going back to it. This is the book of Obadiah. There's only one book in Obadiah, but it's like 20. Let me make sure. Let me get it right. There's one book in Obadiah, and there are 21 verses in the book of Obadiah. But I'm going to go ahead and start with the book of Obadiah 1 and verses 2 through 4. Behold, I have made thee small among the heathen. Thou art greatly despised. And you see that happening now with, America trying to having that conflict with Iran that they started back on February 28th this year of 2026, where they just ignored Congress. Because when you want to go to war with somebody, you have to go through Congress first to see if they're going to approve it. Trump just skipped out on that, and so the other nations, including the NATO and EU allies of America, are beginning to hate this bitch, as well as China and the other nations, Russia, which are Edomites anyways, but they're starting to hate this place even more. Verse 3, the pride of thine heart hath deceived thee, thou that dwellest in the clefts of the rock, whose habitation is high, that saith in his heart, who shall bring me down to the ground? Verse 4, though thou exalt thyself as the eagle, which is America's bird, and though thou set thy nest among the stars, that's America's Space Force and space program, thence will I bring thee down, saith the Lord, Yahweh B'Shem Yahweh Shai. So with that, I hope this was inspiring, edifying, and enlightening to you as it was to me, because the Spirit just had me run and jump up on this. So, Lord willing, there'll be a next time. But I want to give now all praises and honor and glories to our power, Yahweh B'Hashem Yahweh Shai B'Hashem Wakaha Kodash. Double honors to the elders, apostles, and bishops of Great Millstone. Peace and salutations to the hopeful elect scattered amongst the four corners of the earth. Lord willing, there will be a next time. But for now, I'm going to say Shalawam.